Hello, travelers. Welcome to Life Between Flights, the podcast about small business, the travel industry, and all of life's interruptions. I am your host, Cecily North-Rudo, certified travel advisor and owner of Traveling North Travel Agency. And today I wanted to talk about, my husband and I have been trying to sell our house for the past 3 years, and we are finally sort of maybe at the final end and actually, closing on the sale here in the next couple weeks or so. And it has been a struggle because we haven't actually been residing there in a while. I accepted a new job, so it's like an hour and a half drive from the old house up to where we are now. And it's been disappointing for it to sit on the market for so long, and it's a house that we love, but it's just not feasible for us to be there anymore. And we've had an awesome realtor for the past several months who's been working really, really hard to get this house sold for us. And so yesterday, if it hasn't been obvious in any of my previous episodes, I pre-record these pretty far out. We are expecting a cold snap for the next couple days, and so I had to leave my work yesterday, which was actually a little bit later in the office than normal, drive the hour and a half down to our house, make sure everything was ready for the cold snap, making sure, the heat was turned up, making sure cabinets were open, the faucets were running, dripping, all of that stuff. And then immediately turning around and coming back home the hour and a half because I had to go to work the next day. And so it's just been an added stress and an added just pain for the past 3 years, and just a pain point in so many ways for us. And so it's exciting to be hopefully towards the end, hopefully by the time this episode comes out, we are done with this house. All of that to say, I left work yesterday and I hadn't eaten anything. Traffic was really, really bad. There had been multiple accidents in the evening, and so it was going to take, originally when I got on the road, it said it was going to take me 2.5 hours to get there, when usually it's an hour and a half drive. But I knew I wanted to get to the next big city center and maybe eat dinner there before driving on down to the house and let the accidents clear and all of that stuff. Well, the accidents thankfully all cleared while I was on the road, and I was like, I don't want to stop if I don't have to. So I just kept going, get down to the house, do all of my things. By that point, it had been another 8 hours, if not longer, since I had eaten. And so thankfully, we have a plethora of gas stations in the area where our house is. We don't have much else, but we have a whole lot of gas stations. And so I ran into one and I was like, I'm just going to do girl dinner tonight. I'm just going to grab a bunch of road snacks and and drive home. So that's what I did. I just grabbed totally unhealthy things and, snacked all the way home, which kept me awake, thankfully. And I had lots of caffeine to get me home. But I was talking to a friend today and telling her about the drive, and thankfully, the accidents had cleared and the drive wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be. But I did end up eating girl dinner in the car, and she's like, sometimes we just have to do that and just have to have girl dinner. So that's what I did last night, and it was an enjoyable drive home, listening to podcasts and just snacking on chocolate and potato chips and lots of caffeine. So with that, to get into today's episode, we are going to be talking about small business resources and things that, entrepreneurs should know that are available to you as you are starting your business. Again, when I first started, I did not know about a lot of these things that are in existence to help small businesses in one way or another. And now that I have had my business for so long, and I have talked to so many business owners, and being so involved in my chamber and being part of networking groups and, being part of my library and all of those things, and knowing that there are all of these resources out there, it's, again, part of this podcast is to help people that are new to your industry, new to your business, and just, all of those resources I wish I had when I had started. This is just to help introduce people to this stuff and know that these things exist and they're there to help you. And so with this, there's also, this is going to lead into our episode next week, talking to our business librarians here at my library and all of the amazing things that they do for businesses, because they do so much and people don't know about it. But today we're just going to go over a couple of these different resources that are available. I will link to these in the show notes. And there's so many more out there, but this is a really great starting point. I know we will talk about more of these in future podcasts and all of that stuff. there's just so much out there to help support small businesses. This one I've mentioned before in other episodes. The number one is the Small Business Administration. They provide education, they provide loans, they provide grants. They support all sorts of industries and businesses, everything to help with launching your business, all the way up to growing your business, whatever that means for you. And they truly are a great wealth of information for small businesses. They have so many free programs for small businesses, and really even to help guide you in those very first, few months or a year of your entrepreneurship and trying to decide where to go with your business. They just provide so much and there are also like local chapters of small business administrations or small business development centers. That's actually another great resource for people to take advantage of. The small business development centers, they are all over the country. There are chapters everywhere. They will also partner with small business owners. They will partner with businesses that help small businesses. They will partner with educational programs, like I know with our business librarians and even other librarians in our area. They will partner with the small business development centers in our area to provide different programming. I know they do like so you want to start a business type class to help people kind of understand those first steps when starting a business. They are all completely free. You don't have to do anything. You just register and show up and participate. And they also provide free one-on-one consulting with entrepreneurs, people that are just starting out their business, and help advise you on where to go and the resources available to you. I actually was going to start going down this path with my business when I started really building it a few years ago, back in 2022. And, I get all of their emails. I just haven't been able to participate in any of their programs, but there are so many things that they offer. They offer programming for veterans and educators and first responders and people that have had, maybe you've had a whole career in another life and now you're looking to do something different, or you're looking to branch off on your own, or maybe you have no idea at all, but you know that you want to do something. They are a really great resource, and they have consultants and they have all sorts of people on staff that can help you kind of figure out a plan, figure out where you should be going, where you should be directing your energy, all of those things. They are such a great resource, and they provide so many free resources. The next is to think about or to look at grants.gov. You can search and apply for federal grants. And so these are grants that are funding opportunities for people where you don't necessarily have to have any sort of funding provided on your own. If you don't have a nest egg, you don't have any sort of savings or anything to put into this, these grants can help fund those business efforts to get your stuff launched without needing any sort of commitment on your end financially. And there are so many grants out there. That's another thing that these small business development centers can help with, and some of these other resources I'll talk about as we go through this episode. But there are so many funding sources out there, grants available, scholarships available, and I know for me in my professional work with the library and the associations that I've worked with, we are always promoting that we have scholarships available and funding available, and nobody ever applies. And it really is surprising to me. I know that's not true in every industry, but a lot of associations have these funds that they want to give away and help support people, and they just aren't getting interest. So it's definitely, if you see an opportunity and it fits what you were looking for, absolutely apply for it. Have either someone from the Small Business Development Center, or there are people like that just help write grants or help support grants. You can have one of them look over your proposals. I know for one of the boards that I serve on, we have people, apply, send in their application for funds, and there's sort of a feedback timeline where they can submit a draft, and we as board members volunteer to review those drafts, and we can give real life feedback to the organizations and say, hey, these are all great ideas. However, you're missing out. You're not answering this question, or let's rephrase this so that it's a stronger grant compared to other agencies that are trying to get the same amount of money. There's a lot of different ways to go about that, to not only apply for the grants, but actually secure that you're going to get the funding from it. Grants can take a lot of work, a lot of time, but they are definitely a great opportunity for trying to, have the necessary funds to get going in your business. maybe there's a certain project that you're passionate about. I know that there are a lot of people that I've met through networking that run nonprofits or are part of nonprofits, and they just need help with the fundraising and things like that. And, applying for grants is a huge part of that. And there's just so many different institutions out there that have funds to help support people. That definitely it's something I always recommend in my library life, in talking to library students and archive students they think that they just have to have the money to do all of the things. And it's like, no, there's scholarships, there's grants, there's fundraising that are available for you for educational purposes, for you to attend a conference, for you to attend a workshop. There's, we do funding for different projects and things like that, like small projects for institutions if they just need a little bit of financial help because they can't afford to order supplies or things like that. There's lots of opportunities out there for that. The IRL also has a tax center and a small business and self-employed tax center, and this helps with tax tools. It also has advice, again, for owners. It can help you find some direction on what can you deduct, what kind of tax credits are available to you. Of course, you always want to check with a bookkeeper or your CPA to get the all of the ins and outs for your state, for your town, for your specific business, all of those things. If you're collecting sales tax in your area, there's just so many ins and outs about taxes, but you don't have to do it yourself. There are so many different organizations out there. There are businesses out there that can help you with all of these things to make sure that you are capitalizing on all of the things for making sure that you are prepared to, if you have to pay those taxes or if you're getting a refund or whatever it is, making sure, when we talked with Laura about bookkeeping and knowing that everything is in order so that you're not missing out and that you're staying, compliant and you're staying legal and you're not falling behind on any of your tax responsibilities. And again, those are all great free resources out there to make sure that you are staying compliant. And then one of the big things, and I know I've mentioned this before and will continue to mention this, is your local chamber of commerce, or even there's also the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. But I know for me, I am part of 2 chambers in my area, and the one that I've been part of longer provides so many free resources and free courses. They'll have experts come in and talk about everything to do with small business, whether it's work. Recently it's been, how do you use AI to benefit your business? How do you make sure that you have the right coverages of insurance for your business? How do you hire the right people? There's been so many they just did a boot camp on QuickBooks. There's just so many different things that are all free as part of your chamber membership. And it's also a great opportunity to network. The times that I have been able to go to these classes, it's been really great because I've actually gotten to network with a lot of people that are in different industries that are also helpful to me. Like, I met my web designer at a chamber event. He had been recommended to me, and then, we had met, but then we hadn't really spent a whole lot of time together. And so it was really nice being in a class with him. And there's just so much that my chamber offers. Of course, not every chamber is the same, but there are so many opportunities. They will share if there's funding opportunities that people can apply for. If there are they do a quarterly luncheon where you can come and talk to the commissioners or the sheriff or things like that are happening in your community. They also support a program for teachers to help learn about different career paths for students that aren't necessarily taking the whole 4-year college route. Maybe they're going an alternative way, and they will connect teachers with businesses and help introduce students to these opportunities to do things that aren't the traditional college route. They just do so many different things to help promote your business in addition to supporting small business and fighting for small business in the area. There's, like I said, every chamber is different, but the ones that I am a part of are phenomenal in supporting small business, getting to know your business, getting to know you, and helping provide those free resources that are available at any time. I was just talking to a fellow agent, had listened to another podcast that I was on, and I had mentioned, being a member of my chamber and how much that has changed my business. And she was saying how she was going to go to her chamber and become a member, and it's so hesitant to go in because it's a lot of money. And every chamber is different. Some of them, obviously their pricing structures are all different. But my advice was that, I've been members of chambers before and just didn't have the opportunity to really take advantage of anything that they were offering. So if you're going to be giving money to them, absolutely take advantage of as much as you can of all of the free resources that they're providing, the networking opportunities, the ribbon cuttings, the courses, the luncheons that they are doing, anything that they are offering and you're able to attend, you absolutely should, because it gets you in front of people, you're networking with people, and you're partnering with. The chamber is meant to support small business and help to promote what you're doing and other small businesses in your area, and they're just such a wealth of information to help you and help support you in your business. Another huge thing is either being part of a national association or even a local chapter of a national association. Like there's so many associations out there for every single type of interest. There's the National Association for the Self-Employed, there's the National Women's Business Council. There are so many national associations, but then there are also these either regional chapters or regional associations. In my library life, I have been part of the Society of American Archivists. I am also a member of the Society of Rocky Mountain Archivists, which is my regional association. And, people ask all the time of like, oh, which one's better to be part of? I'm like, honestly, I like the regional ones better because it is more useful for specifically my area, my network of people, my region, all of those things that are very much applying to me and my institution. And that is absolutely true of my business as well. I am part of the American Society of Travel Advisors. I am a member of that, and I attend our local Rocky Mountain chapter events when I can. And it's great to go to those because it's all local agents, and it's also suppliers that I wouldn't necessarily get to talk to in another format. And having them here and being able to have one-on-one time with them in my region, you don't have to travel far to find these connections and to network with these people that are here to support you. And again, in whatever industry you're in, I know that you can find a local chapter or, an association that applies to your industry, that is people doing what you're doing, that you can talk to, that you can network with, that maybe you create a meet, or maybe you do like a monthly Zoom or something like that. There's just so many ways to connect with people now, and being part of these associations that can help with your networking, they can help with your professional development. It's just overall going to help your business in so many ways, and especially when you can be connected with others. And if you're struggling or if you're needing to meet someone that you need specific help, then being part of these associations can definitely help with that as well. I know for my, our local archivist association, a lot of the times, like we have a listserv that goes out, and if people have, again, funding opportunities, if they are looking, maybe they have an internship position open for the summer, maybe they're looking for recommendations on supplies or, resources on what to do in an emergency, things like that. We are all here to help everyone else. And that's what all of these things that I've been talking about are here for. They're here to help you support your business and in whatever industry you're in. That's what they're here for. Another big one is looking at online publications or looking at whether that's a magazine. I know there are 3 online magazines that I receive that are travel industry specific. They're all published by different publishing groups, so it's not all necessarily the same information over and over again. They're all talking about different topics, different trends, all of those things that are useful for me so that I know what's happening and things that I can talk to my clients about. They are also sharing, the latest technology. They're talking about new updates with suppliers. They're talking about all sorts of travel news that we might not necessarily see because there's so much to know about. And so finding those sort of publications, all of the ones that I subscribe to are completely free, and they are full-on magazines that I can go through and I can see, deals that are happening. I see trends that are happening, technology. There's usually some sort of like discount code or something. If there's a service that I want to try, they'll advertise those kinds of things. And it also includes like who to contact if you're having issues with certain things, or looking for regional events, who to reach out to of what's happening in your area. Some of them do kind of road shows, and so you can see if one's coming to your area or one that's coming close by that maybe you want to commit the time and the effort to go visit. But there are a lot of those resources, again, that are free, that are online, that you can access and just subscribe to, and it helps you just stay on top of all the things happening in your industry. I also publish in 2 different magazines here in my area, and I was actually talking to one of the publishers earlier today, and they have a magazine that's for people that are just moving into the area. They also have a magazine that's specifically for real estate agents. They have one specifically for another industry as well, and now it's escaping me at the moment. But all that to say that there are magazines, digital newsletters, all of those things out there for every single industry, every type of business. You'll be able to find resources online that talk about that. Another really, really great tool to take advantage of, that you can take advantage of from the very beginning, are networking tools. The biggest one is probably LinkedIn. As a professional, you want to make sure that you have a LinkedIn page before you have a website, before you have your social media. Go online and make your LinkedIn page. Put in all of your experience. Make sure that it's applicable to whatever it is that you're doing. Be putting in those dates, put in your education, your experience. People can put in a recommendation for you. If you own your own business, you want to make sure that you create a business page so that you're connected to that as well, because you can be posting stuff on LinkedIn just like you would be on social media. My LinkedIn page is I have taken some of the more the older stuff off now. I didn't have to have all of my jobs from college on there anymore, but I definitely have my own business on there. I have the podcast on there. All of my certifications are on there. My education is on there. The board positions that I've served on now are on there. There's just so much that you can put in there, and it's a completely free resource. And you can also go on there to see, it's going to give you recommendations of not only the people that are obviously in your network, but other people that are doing similar work to you, and people that you can connect with on that level. You can be looking for people in your region. Maybe they're part of an association that you're a part of, but that's a huge thing where you can network with people. You can, I get requests all the time for people that I've never met, but maybe we've been in an online course together or something like that. LinkedIn is just, LinkedIn has been around for a long time, and it's just definitely one of those great resources to take advantage of too when you're trying to get your name out there, trying to show your credentials, especially if you have any certifications or educational things that you've accomplished. Include all of those on there. Any of your volunteer positions you want to put on there, anything that shows project management or leadership positions that you've been in, whether they've been volunteer or paid, put all of those things in there, because they're just going to add legitimacy to you and your business. And it's a great way for you to connect with potential mentors or peers or power partners for you, people that can refer you to others that they know. I like getting those requests on LinkedIn, and definitely when I'm meeting people at networking events, I try to find them on LinkedIn and connect. And I don't ask to meet in any of that stuff. I'm not really interested in doing that stuff, but I like to see what they're working on and see what they're posting. And then I try to post some stuff about the business. I try to post about the podcast. I don't do an overwhelming amount of posting on LinkedIn, but I do, I see a lot of people that I know are posting articles they've written or various things like that. They share it on LinkedIn. And that's just a really, really great free resource to start with as a networking tool. But there are so many others out there. One that I've been part of now for a while is Alignable, which is another networking app that you can connect with. You can connect with people, and then they can refer you, or you can find other people that are in your industry that you connect with, or people that, I have a lot of people in my various networking groups that have connected with me on there, my fellow travel agents that I've connected with on there. It tries to connect you with people that are in your industry that have joined, recently. And so there have been a few agents that I've connected with on there, but mainly it's for people that are in my network that just I can refer them or write recommendations about them, and the same they can do for me. And there's so many others out there. Alignable just seems to be the one that's popping up, where a lot more people that I know are popping up on there now, in addition to all of the just networking in general. Another free resource, or can be free resource, and we will be talking about this with my web designer, is of course having a website or some sort of online presence, whether that's social media, or you can have, create a free website through something like WordPress. I've had websites done through WordPress, through Wix, through Squarespace. I've worked with Drupal in the past. I've worked with Dreamweaver a million years ago. But just having some sort of online presence, whether you're an online business or not, but having just something that people can go to, and it just provides a little bit more legitimacy to your business, where it can, even if it just has a picture of you, your name, your email address, a phone number, a brief description of your business, it doesn't really have to be more than that. I have a friend who is a massage therapist, and she's never really had an online presence, but now she really wants to build out some courses, and she wants to be able to have her clients make reservations for massages online instead of texting her or calling, just trying to kind of streamline the whole process. And so she's finally at the point of having a website built to do all of those things. But obviously you don't need to go that far in the very beginning. You can just create a very, very simple web page that just has some contact information on there, talk about your services, talk about what you do. Maybe, if you have a value statement or a vision statement, mission statement, any of those things, you can put that on there just as a starting place for people to find you and have some way to contact you. That's another completely free thing that, you can build over time. You don't have to have it just be a huge, all-encompassing website that has all of the bells and whistles on it in the very beginning. It can be a very, very cheap thing for you to do in the very beginning. And then, of course, like I said, another great resource, and we will be talking to my business librarians in the next episode, but there are so many resources that your local library can offer you that so many people are always surprised to know when I'm talking to people, our business librarians. You don't have to have a library card to work with our business librarians. You don't have to live in our county to work with our business librarians. They will help literally anybody, and they do so much. So I always recommend to people, if you are starting out with your business and maybe you have an idea, but you don't really know where to go, what resources are available to you, check out to see if your local library, what services they offer for local businesses. They might have someone that comes in and does a monthly class about those small business resources like what we've talked about in this episode. Maybe they have some databases that you can use. I know that we have a database as part of our district that helps you write a business plan. And it's literally like a form that you fill out, and it helps you create a full-on, business plan. And there are so many resources out there to help with marketing, to help with creating a marketing plan, to help you craft your mission statement, your vision statement, to help you figure out your management style. There's connections, if now it's through LinkedIn, but there was lynda.com where you could get all of these resources. That was a resource through the library, completely free. All you need is your library card. And there's of course there's going to be books about management and business and entrepreneurship and finances. There's all of those resources, of course, that you can use that are completely free. And you can find out, and the more you read and you're looking in the indexes in the back and all of their sources, and then you can go and read all of those things and find all of those things to read. There's just so much that just builds on from one book. You can find 5 more books. And then there's, so many databases and so many things out there to help with business building. And so I just highly recommend that you check out what your local library has to offer. And maybe your local library, maybe they don't have the resources, maybe they just don't have the capability to offer a whole bunch for small businesses. But I bet even if you went in and talked to your librarian, they would probably be able to find some local resources for you, like your chamber, like those small business development councils, maybe find some other local small business organizations that can help you, or they can direct you to maybe it's a bigger branch that has the business resources. Maybe you live next to a smaller branch that maybe doesn't have everything, but maybe they have, a bigger branch that does have all of those resources, or maybe they do have someone that's dedicated to small businesses like we have here. There's just so many different, every library is different in what they offer, but there's so many things that libraries in general provide and can help support small businesses. So I highly recommend that you just reach out and see what they're offering. And then also, it's the same for community colleges, if you have a college or university close by, especially if they have a business school, sometimes those students need help with projects, or maybe they need, college credit, they need an internship, they need something, and they need help from actual businesses that actually exist. There's help out there that way as well to help, have some help with social media marketing or things like that, help writing a business plan, all of those things that even if they're learning and you're learning at the same time, you can learn together, or you can provide some resources for them and they help provide maybe some research for you. There's a lot of ways to kind of utilize those, especially like the community colleges and business classes, and like you can audit classes and all of those things to help build up your education as well, while you're building your business. Until next time, safe travels, and may your luggage follow you wherever you go. Today's episode of Life Between Flights was sponsored by me, Traveling North, produced by me and edited by Nomad Creations. Please check out the show notes for referral links, discount codes, and more resources that I've talked about in this episode. You can also follow along on our social media on Facebook and Instagram at Life Between Flights Pod. If you want help planning your next adventure, you can always check me out at travelingnorthagency.com. If you have any questions, ideas, or would like to sponsor this podcast, you can email us at lifebetweenflightspod@gmail.com.